So yeah, hello everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Threat Intelligence Seminar. And please pardon me, I've lost my voice, so I'll try as best to make sure I complete everything. And I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so let's look at what we have for today. Definitely, and whenever you join our classes, this is a short seminar, and this short seminar is divided into two parts. The first part is where we do our video awareness training, and the second part is where we either do a practicals or we listen to an industry person talk about cybersecurity. So we wouldn't waste much time. We would go straight up to our first session. That is our video awareness training, where I'll be playing the video as always. You watch the video. I'll play it twice for further clarification. And after that, we will answer the questions regarding to the video. And then we will look at what we have for today. We are looking at Nmap port scanning for today. So when we are done with the video, then we'll talk about Nmap, and then there will be questions, submissions, and then we can end this session. Okay. So I'll be sharing my screen. Let me know when you guys can see my screen. Okay.
Ningio, Episode 703, Troubled Waters. Security topic, Watering Hole Attacks. Starring Robert Davi as Vice President. A major vulnerability called Log4j has left an alarming number of companies and software vendors exposed to extreme risk of compromise. The vulnerability allows bad actors to manipulate data, infect systems with malware, and potentially gain control of systems altogether. One example of how this attack may put an even wider group at risk is through watering hole attacks.
Grab the rope! I can't!
Exterior, Yosemite Campground. A young boy is clinging to a rock in a rushing river.
You need to let go with one hand and grab the rope!
I can't, Dad! Help me! I'm slipping!
Were you able to call 911?
I got cell service, but it was busy.
Busy? How can that be?
Other people tried calling too, but it was busy for them. It's like the whole emergency call system has gone down.
Mom, Dad, please help me!
Interior, GNT Communications Boardroom.
Fortunately, a park ranger patrolling the area was able to help the boy to safety. But others weren't so lucky, with literally thousands of emergency calls going unanswered because our telecom system was down due to the hack.
I understand our cybersecurity team has determined how the hack occurred.
Through what's known as the watering hole attack.
We're a website that's been infected with malware targets users within the same group, organization, or industry.
That's right. It's a more targeted attack, which allows bad actors to go after specific targets by setting traps in highly strategic areas. One of our managers was preparing for a keynote address and logged into a shared conference site to look at a list of registered attendees. Upon logging in, he was prompted with what he thought was an operating system update. It looked legitimate, so he trusted it. But our cybersecurity team has confirmed the notification came from the website and not his computer. And once the update got accepted, malicious code was downloaded to his computer.
And from there, the hackers got access to our main database.
That's correct. And took down our entire network to disrupt communications, including emergency calls.
The only way to address the growing public backlash is to notify the media on how we're training our people in order to prevent anything like this from ever happening again.
Already in motion. For starters, we're educating every employee about watering hole attacks, informing them that they should only go to websites that are trusted, verified, and widely used. In addition, if they go to a website and it prompts them to click a link, they should treat it with the same amount of scrutiny they treat everything else.
And especially, be aware of misleading pop-ups that may look like a system prompt.
Precisely. Many websites may still be exposed to the Log4j vulnerability for some time. So, we're reminding our people to remain cautious. Lastly, we're informing them to make sure their security software is always up to date.
Very good. I'll have our PR department coordinate with all the major news outlets so we can get our message out very clear. An emergency call center outage like this will never happen again.
Teachable takeaways. Watering hole attacks target individuals within the same group, organization, or industry. Use caution whenever you're prompted by an unsolicited link or update, as they can contain malware. Keeping security software up to date and only visiting trusted, widely used websites helps reduce some risk. Always verify before you trust when it comes to online safety. Ningio, Episode 703, Troubled Waters. Security topic, watering hole attacks. Starring Robert Davi as Vice President. A major vulnerability called Log4j has left an alarming number of companies and software vendors exposed to extreme risk of compromise. The vulnerability allows bad actors to manipulate data, infect systems with malware, and potentially gain control of systems altogether. One example of how this attack may put an even wider group at risk is through watering hole attacks.
Grab the rope!
I can't!
Exterior, Yosemite Campground. A young boy is clinging to a rock in a rushing river.
You need to let go with one hand and grab the rope!
I can't, Dad! Help me! I'm slipping!
Were you able to call 911?
I got cell service, but it was busy.
Busy? How can that be?
Other people tried calling too, but it was busy for them. It's like the whole emergency call system has gone down.
Mom, Dad! Please help me!
Interior, GMT Communications Boardroom.
Fortunately, a park ranger patrolling the area was able to help the boy to safety. But others weren't so lucky, with literally thousands of emergency calls going unanswered because our telecom system was down due to the hack.
I understand our cybersecurity team has determined how the hack occurred.
Through what's known as a watering hole attack.
Ah, we're a website that's been infected with malware targets users within the same group, organization, or industry.
That's right. It's a more targeted attack, which allows bad actors to go after specific targets by setting traps in highly strategic areas. One of our managers was preparing for a keynote address and logged into a shared conference site to look at a list of registered attendees. Upon logging in, he was prompted with what he thought was an operating system update. It looked legitimate, so he trusted it. But our cybersecurity team has confirmed the notification came from the website and not his computer. And once the update got accepted, malicious code was downloaded to his computer.
And from there, the hackers got access to our main database.
That's correct. And took down our entire network to disrupt communications, including emergency calls.
The only way to address the growing public backlash is to notify the media on how we're training our people in order to prevent anything like this from ever happening again.
Already in motion. For starters, we're educating every employee about watering hole attacks, informing them that they should only go to websites that are trusted, verified, and widely used. In addition, if they go to a website and it prompts them to click a link, they should treat it with the same amount of scrutiny they treat everything else.
And especially, be aware of misleading pop-ups that may look like a system prompt.
Precisely. Many websites may still be exposed to the Log4j vulnerability for some time. So, we're reminding our people to remain cautious. Lastly, we're informing them to make sure their security software is always up to date.
Very good. I'll have our PR department coordinate with all the major news outlets so we can get our message out very clear. An emergency call center outage like this will never happen again.
Teachable takeaways. Watering hole attacks target individuals within the same group, organization, or industry. Use caution whenever you're prompted by an unsolicited link or update, as they can contain malware. Keeping security software up to date and only visiting trusted, widely used websites helps reduce some risk. Always verify before you trust when it comes to online safety.
All right, so welcome back from the video, and we were talking about watering hole attacks. All right, so let's look at the questions we have based on this video, and let's answer them. And then let's look at what we have for today. So we have 5 questions, and most of them are true or false. So I'll read the questions and you provide me with the answer based on the video that we just watched. Okay. If you don't agree with somebody's answer, you can also counter that and provide us with the right answer. Okay. So the first question says, websites are no longer exposed to the log4j vulnerability, so you don't need to be cautious anymore when visiting a familiar website. True or false? Anybody
it's
with the
false.
answer? I think it's false. Do we agree with false? Okay. All right. Let's look at question number 2, also a true or false statement. If prompted to click on a suspicious link or pop-up, you should either verify it by going to the source or report it. True or false?
True.
True. Okay, I agree with question number 2. Now let's look at question number 3. As a member of the organization, what can you do to avoid falling prey to a watering hole attack? The first option says, make sure security software is always up to date. The second option says, only go to websites that are trusted, verified, and widely used. The third option says, be aware of unsolicited pop-ups or notifications that may look like system prompts. The last option says all of these options above are correct. What do you think?
I think all of it.
Okay. Now let's look at question number 4, also true or false. Watching hole attacks are entirely random and don't target anyone specifically. True or false?
I'm not all that sure. I think it will be false. I'm not sure.
False. False. Anybody else with a different answer? Or anybody else think it's false or true? Okay. Now let's take this as false, and let's look at question number 5. Also a true or false. Is it safe to click on any link that appears while you're on a website you trust? There's no need to verify or scrutinize this link. True or false?
False.
False. Let's complete the link. And okay. All right. So we have completed the quiz and we got everything correct. Thank you for your submission. And I believe that you understood the video and you know what watching hole attacks are. Whenever you visit a website, you'll be cautious about the things you click and do on those websites. Now, we started this thing in our main class, so I've been asked to go over it and to let us know what we will be doing in the main class. Now, we are looking at Nmap. We are looking at Nmap. So I'll power on my Kali Linux system, right? And then as it is coming on, we will do an introduction to Nmap and we will look at some of the basic commands we need to start Nmap. You see, now Nmap is a port scanning tool, right? Nmap allows cybersecurity professionals or allow people to discover devices on a network first. It allows us to also scan for open ports. Now, what are ports? See, on your computer, you have the physical ports, that is our USB ports, our HDMI, our Ethernet port, our SS ports. All these things are ports that we have physically in our device. Now, we also have ports that are logical, that allows connection to your computer. Now, the physical port allows physical connection. What about services that also render on your system, but those services, you connect to them virtually or you connect to them based on the internet? Now, these ports are the door that these services will pass through before they reach your computer. So if you are visiting a website, that visit should pass through a door. If you are sending an email, that email should pass through a door. If you are receiving an email, that email should pass through a door. These are ports. Different services use different ports. Ideally, for every computer, we have 65,000 more ports. So every computer can have 65,535 ports. So your computer will have that. Every computer has that. So these are there to make sure that these computers can run services, can connect to something virtually on the internet. You get it? Now, that is what Nmap can be looked to do. Now, Nmap is that tool that can scan systems and find out the ports that are open and the ports that are on these systems. And using these ports, you can learn how to troubleshoot if there's an issue or there's an error on people's computers. You can also check for weaknesses, but Nmap is mostly used by vulnerability testers to find these weaknesses to test systems, and these things are legal. Now, the idea of Nmap is you can't be scanning people's system without proper permission. You see, now these tools are somehow considered illegal if you don't have permission. You can't go out there and be scanning people's computers. It will have an issue with you. Now, one thing about these tools is that it finds whatever that is happening on your computer based on a port. So if imagine an attacker using Nmap to scan your system, looking at the open ports that you have, you see what it will be. So we will be using Nmap, and I don't have permission to be scanning anybody's computer. So I'll be scanning another host that I have. Okay, so I'll use this Kali Linux system as my Nmap, and then I'll use the Windows system as the device I want to scan. Now, with Nmap, like I said, Nmap is not, if you don't have permission, you don't have to scan people's computers. Now, because of this, if you have a strong firewall on a system, the firewall will definitely block this particular tool. You see, so a firewall would block Nmap. And you can see that if you have, let's say, a firewall tool, or if you have a strong antivirus on your system, I'll try that, and then you see immediately this command is issued, your Windows Defender or your antivirus will definitely block this and block the account or the IP address that is issuing this scan, because your defender do not trust who this particular scan is or who this scan is coming from. It can be anybody, anyone, depending on who it is. But like I said, you must have legal permission before you can scan people's computers. But for pen testers, penetration testing is a field in cybersecurity where they have permission to test people's systems, right? So we will be using that in an idea of pen testing. Now, Nmap works for both Linux systems and Windows system. You can download Nmap on their website, www.nmap.org. And once you download on Windows, you would use it via the command prompt. So if you have Nmap on Windows, you'll be using Nmap on or be in the command prompt, let me say that way. But in Kali Linux, because Kali Linux is a cybersecurity operating system, it has Nmap installed or part of it already. So if you want to use Nmap in Kali, you just have to type the command and that will be fine. But to use Nmap in Kali Linux, you have to have administrative rights. You see, you have to run as an administrator. Just as in Windows, you have to run something as an administrator. In Kali, you have to do same. So first, I want to find the IP address of my Kali Linux system. Now, each system that I have here have different IP addresses. So I want to see each one's IP address, and to find that in my Linux system, I can do IP address. Or yes, so I'll see my IP address. It is mostly the one with 80, and this is the IP address of my Kali Linux system. Now, to find the IP address of my Windows system, I'll open the command prompt of the Windows, and then I'll do IP configuration, and I'll do enter. Now, this is the IP4 version of my Windows. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll test to see if both computers can connect to each other and they're on the same network to show that I have permission to scan these systems, right? So to do that, you just have to type in the command ping, then the IP address, which is 192.168.107.249, and then you ping. Once you receive a request, it means this Linux system can talk to this Windows system because they are on the same network. Now, let me do this from the Windows system, and I should do the same command, which is ping, and this IP address of the Kali system. So I'll do 192.168.107.3.1. And then you also see that this can communicate with this. So now I have permission to use Nmap to scan for the open port on this particular system, my Windows system, using Kali to do that. Right. Now, you see the moment I used even the ping command. Oh, what am I doing? The moment I use the ping command, the Windows Defender came. So it means the Windows Defender is off, but the Windows Defender is saying that some computer is talking to your computer. Now, to use Nmap, like I said, you have to be in an administrative platform. And in Kali Linux, you have to do that by doing sudo. Sudo means you want to be in an administrative format. So everything you type with sudo in Kali means you are typing as an administrator. Okay, so doing that in Kali, you want to make sure that everything you type with Nmap would be from an administrative point of view. So you do sudo su, so that everything you do will be from an administrative point. And you click enter, it will ask you for your password. Now your password will not be displayed, but you should type them either way. And when you are done, you type enter. Once I type enter, this will change to red, meaning that I am in an administrative point. You get it? And then I will start the command by using Nmap. To do Nmap, we just have to use the command Nmap. That is all. And then you have to bring the IP address you want to scan. So IP config. So my IP address is 192.168.107.249. This is the IP address I want to scan. Now, this is a basic command in Nmap. And once you do this, Nmap will scan the most common ports. So I said every computer has 65,000 ports. You get it? So if you use Nmap to scan a computer with this initial command, it will scan the most basic ones that are active or that systems will use. So let's do enter, and then Nmap would start the scan. All right, so Nmap scan the most basic ports that are open on this particular system, and you see the ports that are open. So all these ports are the ports that are open on the system, and it even went to show the MAC address of the system I'm using or the system it was able to scan, and telling us that this system that is scanned right now uses Oracle VirtualBox Network Interface Card, meaning that this system is a virtual box, a VM. You see, if it was an actual computer, it would say that particular computer it was. So this is the basic things to scan in Nmap. Now, let's say that you are scanning a computer that you don't know. You want to know, this computer is, let's say, you don't know what computer you're scanning, but you know it's a VM. How do you want to know the operating system of this computer that you'll be scanning? And in Nmap, it's the same command. Nmap will be first. So with every Nmap command in Kali and in Windows, you have to begin with Nmap. And then to scan for the operating system, you do -0 -0 and then space and then the IP address you want to scan. So the IP address is 192.168.107.249. Yeah. And then you do enter. Did I type 0 or O? So it will find you the IP address of, so it will find you what it is running on the system. Sorry. Now it has been able to find that this system that we scan is running what a Microsoft Windows 10. This system is running Windows 10. You get it? So these are a few commands that you can do, but whenever you scan a port, right, it will show you the most common or the ports that are open. And like I said, it will scan the basic ones. So if it scans the basic ones and you see the ones that are open, it would tell you. Now, if a port is closed, Nmap can also give you this information. So whenever you scan a system, it will either come that this port is open or this port is closed, depending on a few things that is making sure this port is closed. Sometimes Windows Defender or an antivirus system or a firewall system can block all these things to make sure that ports are closed. There are some ports on a system that shouldn't be open. These ports can allow remote access. A typical example of these ports is an RDP port. RDP allows somebody to remotely connect to your system using an IP address. Now, RDP runs on port 3389. So if you scan a system and it says that RDP is open, it means that somebody can access your computer. Now, RDP have functions to Windows desktop connection like this. So let's say if your RDP is open, somebody can just type in the computer with an IP address and click on connect. If you don't have password on your computer, the person can just connect easily. But if you have password, now the person will have to guess the password to that particular computer. That's an attacker can use social engineering to try and get those passwords. Or they can even use brute force to try and get those passwords. But you have to use something to find if these things are open, and Nmap is your guide. You see, Nmap can scan a lot of things. You can scan number of IP addresses. Maybe one IP address is not enough. You can scan multiple IP addresses. So you can use the same Nmap with whatever command that you are looking for. Are you looking to scan the operating system or the open ports in, let's say, on those IP addresses? So I'll do Nmap space, and let's say I want to scan my default IP address. If I have another IP address, all I have to do is space and another IP address. If I want a third IP address, I can do space, a third IP address too. Now, Nmap can also scan range of IP addresses. So let's say in an industry or in a company, you want to scan the number of IP addresses in the company using the range. And you can use that using the dash command and the number of computers under those range. So let's say if this computer is a 249, right? And let's say I want to scan from range 249 to range, let's say 255, I can do that using a dash command and 255. You see, this is something that you can do. With Nmap 2, you can present a list of IP addresses. You can do a text file. So let's say you want to create a text file where in the text file, you type in IP addresses in the text file. Let's say on your actual Windows, let's say you use Notepad, right? This is a Notepad to write IP addresses. So let's say I have IP address 192 of, let's say this is my boss, right? And I want to see the port open on my boss computer. Maybe this is another computer of, let's say, my manager. And then you do that. You can create a list. And after creating the list, you can use that to scan your boss and let's say all those people another list. You can use that to scan their systems. Now, Nmap you can also say, I want you to scan only first 100 ports. So ports ranges from, let's say, 1 to 65,000. If you do a basic Nmap scan, it scans at least 1,000 ports. You see, so let's say you want it fast. Let me clear the screen. Let's say you want it fast, right? You want Nmap to scan very, very, very fast. This particular system, the first 100 ports, so from port 1 to port 100, you do Nmap space dash capital F for the first 100. And then what computer do you want to scan? So the computer is, let's say, let me use this same computer, which is 1 space 192.168 and 107 and 249. And I'll do enter. And then I will scan first 100 ports. So you see it is done so soon because the first 100 ports is not many. The first 100 ports is not many. And then it was able to do the scan in 1.77 seconds if you want speed. You see, now let's say these ports are the ports that are used by this computer. Now, if these ports are not supposed to be open, then what do? You have to make sure you close these ports. And closing these ports, you have to close them depending on the firewall settings you have. So if you have a firewall settings or firewall application that you use, you can block these ports. You don't want these ports to open, or these ports are used by these services. So the services are the applications using these ports. Maybe you don't know these applications on your computer that are using these ports. You want to find out why these ports are open. You see, you can close them or you can find out more. So you will be the network administrator to do that. And if you have a Windows Defender, I think Windows Defender can close ports for you. And once you close these ports and somebody scans these ports, the person won't be able to see these ports again. So if you want more information, so let's say you want to see more, you want to know why these ports are there, you want more information about Nmap on these ports, there is a verbose mode. So with a verbose mode, you do Nmap space dash and then VV for verbose mode to see you want more information about what these ports are. VV for verbose mode, and you would type in that particular IP address. So 192.168.107 and 249. And then you do enter, and it will bring you whatever it sees. So it would present the information more. that we scan the system and we're able to scan using this, that we tried using different ping to see if the system is online, and we discovered that this is open. So look at the difference between the information using a normal scan and using the verbose scan. Using the verbose scan, we'll see more information about the IP range that you're scanning. Now, let me end with this. If you want to do a random scan, right, you don't know any IP address, but you want to do a random scan. Now, this is illegal. If you start doing random scans, your IP address might be blocked. See, and your internet service provider that assigns you the IP address might have an issue. But if you want to do a random scan, you don't know any system, Nmap should just scan anything it sees online for you. You can use the same command, Nmap, and then dash and small I and capital R as random Nmap, do random scan for me. And for it's how many computers do you want me to do random scan? So let's say 3 computers. I don't know them. I don't know anything about them, but just scan them for the fun of it to see if you can find any random computer online so that you can scan for me. If those computers have firewall on them, it would block the scan. If they don't, then it will get you the information maybe you are looking for. So depending on the things you want, you can do a lot. You see, sometimes you can target a specific port, like one port, you can do that. So here say that Nmap scan 3 IP addresses randomly for me, but none of the IP address were able to let them do the scans. So this is just a random. Sometimes you might get something, sometimes you won't get anything, right? And then, like I said, you can do, let's say, a particular scan. So let's say you want a particular port. You want a particular port, and this port, you want to see if port 443 is open. Now, when you talk about port 443, it is the port that allows HTML connection or HTTPS connection. So anytime you visit a website, a secured website, you need to use the port 443. Anytime you visit any website, your computer use port 443 as a door to make sure you can receive or you can interact with that website. You can check and see if that port is active or is open. You see, so Nmap, you do a dash and then a P for the port you want to scan, and then you bring that particular port, that is port, let's say 443, and then a space, and then your computer or the system that you want to scan and see if port 443 is active. So you do 192.168.107.1249. And now I do enter, and then it'll try and see. Now it tells me that port 443 is closed, meaning that on this port, on this system, port 443 is not open because I scanned for a specific port, and Nmap was able to see if these systems, if these ports on the system were open or closed. So you can use specific port for troubleshooting. If you want to see if something is not happening right, maybe an application uses this port to function. A lot of application uses ports to function. Any application you have on your computer, use any of the ports, depending on that particular application. If you want to see if this application is functioning, you can use exact ports to do that. Okay, now what I just typed in is just to see if my actual computer Nmap can scan its own self. You see the computer that is on. So basically, I want to see if Nmap can scan its own self, and then it can do that depending on if the system has firewall settings in that. And I did that with Nmap localhost, like Nmap, scan your own self to see if they are port open or port closed. Now, this is where I'll end with the introduction to Nmap. Nmap is fine. It's a port scanning tool you can use to scan system, but you have to get permission first. So if you're a pen tester, you have permission to be scanning system, or you can scan your own system if you want. So this is a host machine. This is my host machine, the Windows 11. Kali is my virtual machine. You can try using Kali if you have a virtual machine to scan your actual host machine. But one issue is Windows Defender would block those things. You see, now let me try that and see. Now let me be in my host and let me find the IP address of my host computer. And I'm looking for, okay, so this is 192.168.107 and 130. So now let me come to Nmap here and do Nmap. Try scanning 192.168.107 and then 130 here. And try and see if you can find information about this system for me. And you do enter. This is just a basic scan. And depending on your firewall settings, it would either allow or it will block it, depending on what you have or not. So now this system is saying that, yes, I was able to do as best as I can, but I was able to see only one port open. And your system is using an Intel computer. So it's able to see, based on the MAC address, the network interface card, that the actual computer that it was scanning is an Intel system. And that is right. And this is where I will end Nmap as a port scanning tool. So you can use Nmap to scan and find out whatever is happening on other systems, but you need permissions before. You need permission to scan people's system. This is just an introduction to Nmap. There are a lot more that you can do with Nmap. You can also do aggressive scans, whether the system like it or not. You can do aggressive scans. You can also do a passive scan where you want it to pass through those Windows firewall settings. You see, so if you want it to pass through the firewall without the firewall noticing, you can play around it, and those are advanced things. Stealth scan, it will scan. It will take a lot of time, but it will scan it underground without your Windows Defender or your antivirus finding information about that. You see, so you must get permission before you do that. Don't randomly try scanning people's computers. And this is where I will end with Nmap. Any questions before we leave here?
Yeah.
Come again? No questions?
No, hi, sorry. I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Is there a way I could hide maybe the system I'm using if Nmap is trying to scan my host address? Because if Nmap can tell if I'm in a contained environment, to know if how to attack, if an attacker is viewing from that perspective. Is there a way I could hide the system I'm using from Nmap?
So if you want to hide the system you are using from Nmap, then the best thing you have to do is to use an endpoint tool or let's say a Windows file, a strong one. Now, I would recommend Symantec. If let's say I had Symantec on my computer right now, I have deleted it though because it was so stubborn. What Symantec can do is, if you have Symantec unless your system is an industry-based firewall and also an antivirus system or anti-malware system. If you have this, and you can set a lot of firewall rules, like the typical firewall of a device, but this is just for normal computer and computer systems. You can have this tool in place. Now, immediately something tries scanning your system, Symantec will block it and add that particular IP address in its list of things that shouldn't allow access. I have this, I don't know if I can show you maybe in the next class or the next time you meet here. If I try installing it, it will tell me to restart my computer, you see. And immediately you scan with, let me try if maybe there's no restart, and let me see if it will be activated. And I'll show you that. So downloads, and I'll go to programs, and then let me see if I can find Symantec. Okay, I have found the setup. Let me open the setup. So I'm trying to scan using Symantec. So in a normal environment, like a company environment, the company will put firewall in place to prevent Nmap, and they'll put all the things that Nmap uses to scan system. Now Nmap will try, let's say, an ICMP echo scan. So to try and see if the system is alive, the firewall would block those things. Nmap use, let's say, an RID, ARD system to scan things to see if it is on or not. The firewall will block those things. Nmap will try and use, let's say, a TCP scan. Now, the firewall would block a TCP from any system it doesn't trust, like a typical company firewall would block all those things. So the administrator can set these things up in a typical environment. But in our actual computers, your best is using a firewall, a strong one, not the basic one that we are used to. You have an extra firewall there that any scan that comes to your system, this firewall would block that. And I don't know if this will be in time so that we can look at that. Okay. Now, let's see. It's not activated yet. It will tell me to restart the computer before it's, you see, it's telling me that I should restart the system. I should restart and then I should open it to make sure that it can do that. But let me see if I can scan with Nmap without restarting it to see what it will show me. So let me type in my password. Now, let me make it big. What is happening? Why is my system not coming up? Yeah. Let me try and see if without restarting my computer, it can allow me to scan this actual computer. Let's see. and I'll do Nmap, and I'll do 192. The address is 160. Let's see if the address is 130. You see, it will allow me to scan that without any issue. But the moment I restart it, you see, it is not active yet. It is yellow, it's not active yet. I need to restart my computer to make things in place. At the moment I restart the computer, any scans from outside would be blocked. Now, one reason why I actually disabled this is if it sees even a website and it doesn't trust, it would block you from visiting those websites. It has this strong defender settings. Even you are going to a website and it doesn't trust the website, it would say that I don't trust this website, so I'll block this website. So you would have to go into the system to manually open those websites up. It is strong. It reads every connection in and out of the system. So this is, for what I know, that can protect against Nmap. If you want to hide your system from Nmap, this Defender 2. But unfortunately, you have to pay for it. Yes, you have to pay for it. If you want this particular subscription, you can let us know, or you can let's say anybody where you brought the link, let the person know if you want this to use this semantic antivirus for a fee. You see, you have to pay for on a normal day, very, very expensive. But we have this thing where you can work around and you can have one and can use it. If you want straight security for your computer, let me advise you straight security. You will not visit and download things you don't like. You don't go to websites and download free movies, those things. It will block all those websites because as soon as it can't trust a website, it will block them. That is how I know that you can hide your system from Nmap. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you so much for the explanation.
Okay. All right. So if there are no questions, then we'll end here. And I will continue, or we will meet here next week to look at more tools and more things. Cybersecurity is a field where you can learn more. So don't just sit there. Anybody can be a cybersecurity analyst. You just have to find the right resources to learn, and we can provide you the right resources. So you can text us, or visit us on social media to find out how you can be a cybersecurity analyst, and we will help you become one. So thank you guys. I'll see you guys next week, Wednesday, same time, same place, same link. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.